Or Luigi.
Yeah, there you go.
I dressed for Rotary today. So
You did.
I had to do Ginger. I walked in and Ginger's like, "That's not a Monday outfit. You dress lazy on Monday."
Funny.
Call this meeting to order. This time, do we have any citizen or public comments or anything that's not on our agenda for tonight? Seeing none, I'd like to welcome everyone to the meeting tonight. First item of business is to approve the agenda.
So move, Your Honor.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Next is consideration of approval of the minutes of the September 10th and 17th meetings. Any questions on the minutes?
So move.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Next is consideration of approval of the consent calendar. Anyone have any questions on the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion on that? Clerk will call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Next is a business of the mayor. We have two proclamations to make tonight. One for Alpha Delta Kappa Month and the other for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We have representatives from Alpha Delta Kappa tonight. If you want to step up to the microphone, introduce yourself and tell us what you're all about.
My name is Roxanne Kennedy. I'm co-president along this year with Mickey Bartelt, and we would like to read something here for you. Thank you for having us tonight. We, the 41 members of the Phi chapter of the Alpha Delta Kappa organization, appreciate this proclamation and the recognition it gives to educators. We are an international honorary organization of women educators that was founded in 1947, dedicated to educational excellence, altruism, and world understanding. We strive to make a difference in our community. A few things that our chapter did locally this year: Charles City chapter of ADK gave 2 scholarships to students that go into the field of education. For the second year, we have sewn potholders and donated them to the graduates of the Floyd County Extension Buy, Eat, and Live Healthy program. Last year, we combined our energies and talents to raise over $1,000 for Alzheimer's research and showed our appreciation to our local caregivers at the Chautauqua Memory Care Unit with trays of treats and goodies. Worldwide, our Charles City Phi chapter has helped to make a difference too. Our Charles City chapter spearheaded the TEACH project completed this past spring, which helped raise enough money to construct 8 classrooms for the school at Imagine Missions Orphanage in Haiti. Most recently, our Charles City proposal for TEACH 2 was accepted as the International ADK project this year. This project will help provide for the construction of transitional housing for 48 older teens to enable them to finish their education and learn an occupation before they leave the Imagine Missions Orphanage. Alpha Delta Kappa thanks you for this recognition of our organization tonight.
Any questions for Roxanne?
Need a motion?
Yeah, I think we probably should do that first.
I can do them both, okay.
Let's do one at a time.
So I'll move for this proclamation.
Second.
Further questions? Clerk will call the roll.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Thank you, Roxanne.
Motion approved, and we'll approve the other proclamation, and I'll come down and we'll read both proclamations then. Representative for Domestic Violence.
Yes, and I come every year and I listen to the pretty speech you make, and I never make one of my own. But I've been with Crisis Intervention Service for 17 years in November, so a really long time. And we've been open since 1977. We've had a presence in Floyd County that entire time. We had started out with, I believe, we had 3 years in the basement of a church. And then there was a period of time we were here part-time because that was me. In like 2007, I shared office space with Prairie Ridge. And then I think shortly after that, then in 2008, we got our own office space uptown. And we've had that since 2008. We have 2 advocates that cover this county full-time. Myself, I do domestic abuse, and then Bree Rottinghouse is our sexual assault advocate. We also have added services of advocacy for victims of violent crimes, so like robbery, burglary, or just plain assault that doesn't have any intimacy going on. We also have a human trafficking advocate that we serve victims of human trafficking now as well. And just, I like to come and do the proclamation on Domestic Violence Awareness Day, or month, or whatever, because, I mean, I just feel like it's important. You see it more and more. We have more and more agencies in town here that work with us. We have really good relationships with people at this point in time. And I feel like that those situations that come to light are taken seriously in Charles City, and there's consequences for people's actions. So it's always good to have a place where lots of agencies work together and support us and support victims, because that's not always the case, but I feel like it is here. So
Good.
that's
What was your name again?
Emily Probst.
Do you have anything special going on? Emily?
You have to go back to the microphone so you can be recorded.
Last year we had the Purple Pumpkin Project, which went over fairly well. It was a big group of nurses though that came and did that for us, and I do not have time to do that, but I am going to do a couple different projects with some rocks. Like, I don't know if you guys have heard about the people that go look for rocks, but it's like a popular thing that happens in a lot of the communities. And so I have some plans to make some purple pumpkin rocks then with like informational, educational, and inspirational things written on the back just to kind of raise awareness. Maybe put some things on there that will make people look things up and learn about some stuff. And then as an agency, we've also started a site. It's #SurvivorSpeaks, and it's a place for survivors to go and tell their stories that maybe they haven't before. They can do it anonymously, but they can go do that and share, and then others can see, you know, the stories of things that happen in community. There's safety and truth in numbers. So usually when someone is brave enough to come forward, many others do as well. So that's kind of what we have going on for this month anyway.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank
Yeah.
you. I'd so move for this proclamation. Second.
Any further questions? Clerk will call the roll.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Motion passed, and I will come down and we'll have a reading of the proclamations. You're not going to stand up, Nikki?
I bet you Hugh can take your picture. Yeah, there you go.
You guys come over here so we can get you on the big camera also. So. Whereas women in education constitute a great portion of the nation's working force and are constantly striving to serve their communities and nations in educational, civic, cultural, and peace among people. And whereas major goals of Alpha Delta Kappa International Honorary Sorority of Women Educators are to give recognition to outstanding women educators, to build a fraternal fellowship among educators, adding to their effectiveness in the promoting of excellence in education, to promote high standards in education, and to assist in strengthening the status and advancement of the teaching profession, to promote educational and charitable projects and activities, to sponsor scholarships, and to cooperate with worthy community programs relating to education and charities, to contribute to world understanding, goodwill, and peace through an international fellowship of women educators united in the ideals of education. Now, therefore, I, Dean Andrews, the Mayor of Charles City, Iowa, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2018 as International Alpha Delta Kappa Month in Charles City, and do urge all citizens to honor women in education and to recognize their great contributions toward the profession of teaching. So we thank you very much for all that you do. We all realize obviously how important education is, but it's nice that your organization not only promotes education here in Charles City, but worldwide, yes. So all the things that you do are certainly appreciated. So thank you very much. You do that then? Hmm? Yeah.
I'll try and stay till the end, sorry. I won't run away in the middle.
All right, well, good, good. So whereas home should be a place of warmth, unconditional love, tranquility, and security, for most of us, home and family can indeed be counted among our greatest blessings. Tragically, for many community members, these blessings are tarnished by violence and fear. And whereas domestic violence is more than an occasional family dispute, it is a serious crime that affects people of all ages, ethnicities, mental or physical abilities, socioeconomic status, religious backgrounds, and genders. And whereas the crime of domestic violence violates an individual's privacy, dignity, security, and humanity due to the systematic use of physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economic control or abuse. And whereas 301 adults and children have been killed in the state of Iowa as a result of domestic violence since 1995, and 207 survivors sought victim services in Charles City and Floyd County this past year. And whereas children who grow up in violent homes are abused and neglected at a higher rate than national average, and more than 4 million children in the United States are at risk for witnessing domestic violence each year. And whereas domestic violence costs the nation over $5 billion annually in medical expenses, law enforcement, and court costs, shelters and foster care, sick leave, absenteeism, and reduced worker productivity. And whereas only a coordinated community effort will bring an end to this epidemic of crime and violence, and we, as a community, must address the problem of domestic violence in our homes and neighborhoods every day of the year. And whereas a coalition of organizations has emerged to directly confront this crisis, law enforcement officials, victim service programs, healthcare providers, the faith community, and other concerned citizens are helping in the effort to end domestic violence. We must recognize the passion and dedication of these volunteers and professionals and applaud their efforts and increase public understanding of this important social problem. Now, therefore, I, Dean Andrews, Mayor of Charles City, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2018 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and urge all citizens of Charles City to observe this month by becoming aware of the tragedy of domestic violence, supporting those who are working toward its end, and participating in community efforts. Dated this first day of October 2018. Of course, this is always a proclamation that we wish we didn't have to make each year, but we know that not only in Charles City, but statewide and nationwide, this is a problem, and we certainly appreciate and want to promote those who are trying to end this problem and to provide services to those who are victims. So we appreciate all that you do.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is a public hearing on Ordinance 1120, amending the zoning ordinance of the City of Charles City. We'd open the hearing. Do we have a failing of affidavit of publication?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any written comments or objections?
None, Your Honor. Did you get any, John, or anybody?
No.
Nope.
Any oral comments or objections tonight?
Move to close.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll to close the hearing.
Star,
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
The hearing is closed. Do we have a recommendation from Planning and Zoning on this issue, John?
Yes, this is the property that's up on North Grand. I've included an aerial photo of this. It's the property between Grand and D Street, immediately south of 11th Avenue. It's that long rectangular property. It's owned by the Charles City Railway Company, and Robert Moen, along with his nonprofit group, they own the rail cars that are up there, and they are planning on creating a museum. They're calling it the American Passenger Train History Museum, and it's going to highlight passenger train service, and they're going to use those rail cars as part of the museum. Currently, the property is zoned M2, and a museum is not a permitted nor special use in that district. So we've looked at this, and we feel the best option is to rezone it for B3, which is Service Business District. There's other, well, right immediately adjacent to the south is Shakeland Insurance, and about 2 years ago we rezoned that property to B3, and there's B3 property on the other side of North Grand. The Planning and Zoning Commission, they did meet, they held a public hearing on this matter, and they are recommending that the council approve the rezoning request. Council just held a public hearing on this as well, and at the last council meeting you had the first reading of the ordinance, so we recommend that the council approve and hold the second reading of the ordinance.
Any questions for John?
Is Mr. Moen, is he the owner of Charles City Railway?
As I understand it, yes.
Okay. I move for the second reading.
Second.
Any further questions or comments? Not, clerk will call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Motion passes. At this time, then, we'll have the second reading of Ordinance 1120.
Ordinance number 1120, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Charles City, Iowa, to change the classification of a parcel of real estate from M2 General Manufacturing District to B3 Service Business District.
Thank you. Next is a public hearing on Ordinance 1121, which is also amending the zoning classification of two parcels located in Block A, plat of Freeman. We'll open the hearing to a filing of affidavit of publication.
Yes, Your Honor.
Any written comments or objections?
None, Your Honor.
Any oral comments or objections this evening?
Move to close.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Hearing is closed. And then again, John, do we have a recommendation from Planning and Zoning for this one?
Yes, this is the rezoning of two parcels. The first one's 600 Gilbert, which is Express Lube, and the other one's 610 Gilbert Street, which is State Bank. Again, I've included an aerial photo. You can see those two parcels are outlined in blue. And these two parcels are currently, by the zoning map, they are zoned R2, General Residence District, and we feel it's just an error in the mapping. It's been commercial property for some time, well before the current zoning ordinance went into effect in 2005. We had talked to the council before, and you sent this back to the Planning and Zoning Commission for their review and recommendation. They did hold a public hearing, and they're recommending that the zoning is corrected, and that it's rezoned to B3. You just held the public hearing on this, and the first reading of the ordinance was held at the September 17th meeting, so we would recommend approval of the second reading.
Any questions for John?
I'd so move. Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Motion's approved. We'll have the second reading of ordinance 1122.
2-2 or 2-1?
22.
2-1.
2-1.
I
You
can
were
read
right.
2-2 if you really want it.
Well, we can do that now.
We'll
and
take
then
them all
save-
in turn,
save
maybe.
some-
2-2.
Save some time, I guess. Let's do 2-1 first, though.
Okay, thanks. Ordinance number 1121, an ordinance amending the zoning classification of 2 parcels located in Block A, plat of Freeman, now incorporated as Charles City, Iowa, and the fractional Block 89 in Kelly and Company's addition to St. Charles, now incorporated in and as a part of Charles City, Iowa, from R-2 General Residence District to B-3 Service Business District.
Thank you. Well, now we'll have a public hearing on ordinance 1122, which is again amending the zoning classification of a parcel located in Block A, plat of Freeman. We'll open the hearing. Do we have a filing of affidavit of publication?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
How about any oral comments or objections this evening?
Move to close.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Hearing is closed. We have, again, a recommendation from Planning and Zoning for this one. John?
Yes, this rezoning request is directly related just to the past rezoning issue that was talked about. Express Lube, they are planning on expanding. In order to expand, they have to, they're going to purchase, or they're purchasing the property at 403 Cedar Street, which is immediately south and adjacent to their property. They're at 600 Gilbert Street. Basil Law, he currently owns the property, and it's owned R2, and it's currently used as residential. He requested through the Planning and Zoning Commission by petition for the property to be rezoned. The Planning and Zoning Commission, they did hold a public hearing, and they're recommending that the property is rezoned to B3. The first reading was approved by the council at the September 17th meeting, so we'd recommend approval of the second reading.
Thank you. Any further questions for John?
I'd so move for the second reading.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
This time then we'll have the second reading of ordinance 1122.
Ordinance number 1122, an ordinance amending the zoning classification of a parcel located in Block A, plat of Freeman, now incorporated as Charles City, Iowa, from R2 General Residence District to B3 Service Business District.
All right, motion, or that's the second reading of ordinance 1122. Next is to consider request for the use of city property and street closures for the Spook Walk. Emily.
Hi, my name is Emily Garden. I'm the events coordinator for Community Revitalization. We're holding our Spook Walk on Thursday, October 25th with a rain makeup date of the Monday following if need be. I'm coming to you today to request use of the river trail behind the library and behind IC Church. And then street closures of St. Mary's Street from Clark to Riverside and Riverside Drive from St. Mary's Street to Leland Avenue. I have met with Captain Frankie and already prepared a letter to send out to residents as soon as you all, if you do, approve the street closures, which we'll send out promptly if this is approved. Any questions?
Pretty much the same thing as in the past.
The only thing that we changed is that we're asking that the street is closed 2 hours earlier. In the past, it's been closed at 1 p.m. This year, we're asking that it's closed at 11 a.m. just to keep cars off of it a little bit longer.
Got any new spooks this year?
Changed the theme this year. And we sent it out registration to a lot more people, so we're getting some higher registration numbers.
Good.
Yes. So if you want to participate as a city council, the theme is Game On, video games.
No, you can stop there.
Happen to know that Keith Starr can do a lot with cardboard and scissors and drawing with markers maybe, so
Let's stay all the time.
There you go.
he made some good Halloween costumes.
Any further questions for Emily?
I'll so move.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero. Starr.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks,
Emily.
Thank you.
Next is consideration of Resolution 15818, approving a request for waiver of off-street loading and parking requirements at a property located at 1906 Gilbert. Do we have a recommendation from Planning and Zoning, John?
Yes, well, Kelvin Kiefer, he owns Mills Incorporated, and he purchased the building at 1906 Gilbert Street, and he's planning on relocating his plumbing business from Main Street out there to the building there on West Gilbert. Along with, what he's going to do is have the showroom, offices, a place for vehicles, and warehousing space on one location. And if you scroll down, I've included an aerial photo of this, and he is requesting a waiver from the off-street parking requirements in Section 22 of the zoning ordinance, in particular the paving requirements. Now this property has it's existing gravel, and it has two entrances off of Gilbert Street. He's going to abandon the west entrance and keep the east entrance. The approach on Gilbert Street, it actually has already been paved. They'll be paved, and there'll be a place for 8 parking stalls up by the building, along with some concrete approach and the sidewalk. That will be paved. And he originally requested a permanent waiver from the paving requirements. Planning and Zoning Commission, they weren't comfortable with a permanent waiver, and what they're recommending is a 2-year waiver from this requirement. So we would recommend that the council accept the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation and approve Resolution 158-18.
Any discussion or questions?
I guess what's the plan with the 2 years, John? What happens then?
Well, what we're planning on is we'll soon bring to the Planning and Zoning Commission an ordinance amending Section 22 and changing those requirements, mainly to help create parking in a more economical manner. And so we're thinking 2 years, and then at the end of 2 years, we'll be under a new revised parking requirement.
Okay.
There's 2 buildings at that location or proximity. Mills just bought the bigger one, the bigger church. The other one remains the church, the smaller building.
Yeah, another church is using that smaller building.
Okay.
I would so move as proposed with the 2 years.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
The resolution is passed. Next is Resolution 15918, which is approving a request for a waiver of off-street loading and parking requirements for property located at 1307 South Main. Planning and zoning recommendation for this one.
Well, this is another waiver request for from the paving requirements in Section 22 of the zoning ordinance. Mid-American Energy, they've purchased the former Allied Construction Company shop on South Main Street, and that's going to be for their wind operations facility. It's going to be for offices, for warehousing, for shop space. And I've included from their site plan, the property currently has a little bit of concrete paving. There's 2 entrances again, this parcel. The south entrance has the approaches paved. There's some paving immediately on the west side and the south side of the building. And then the north entrance, there's about 200 feet of paving back to the rock area. The rest of the area is existing rock. And Mid-American Energy, they are asking that the paving requirements be waived. They too were requesting a permanent waiver. Planning and Zoning Commission they're requesting a 2-year waiver be approved, and that again is what we're doing is looking at revising that amendment. So they thought 2 years, and then there'll be a new paving requirement. So we would recommend the council accept that recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission and approve Resolution 159-18, approving the 2-year waiver.
Any questions for John on this item?
See, it's just like the last one. Essentially, this gives us the opportunity to investigate and actually see what we're trying to get out of this ordinance, and revise it to fit the actual accomplishment we're trying to get off of this, instead of just an overall blanket system and then people coming around trying to get waivers for all the time, when if you are always granting waivers, what's the point of having it in place?
Exactly, yeah.
We're trying to find a better fit.
I would so move.
Second.
Any further discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Resolution 159-18 is approved. Next is consideration of Resolution 160-18, which is approving the purchase of a truck for the Housing Department. Discussion, Heidi?
I'm Heidi Nielsen, the Housing Director. We're looking to replace our Dodge pickup truck that we have. We've had it in service since 2009. In the last few months, we've had to make some major repairs to the pickup, and it's not been reliable for us. We would like to piggyback onto the state vehicle contract pricing to bypass the procurement process so we can speed things up a little bit. The truck that they would like to purchase is a 2019 Chevy from Carl Chevrolet. The cost is $31,641.60, and they have agreed to take our existing pickup on trade with an allowance of $12,389. After the trade-in, the cost for the truck would be $19,252.60. We do have the money budgeted in our public housing budget in the current year to cover the cost of the pickup.
Any questions, Heidi?
So move.
Second.
Further discussion?
Do you know when that cutoff window is for that?
They don't know. They said
They don't know yet?
they just randomly tell them when it's time.
Okay.
Clerk will call the roll.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr. Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye. Get on the phone right now so you make sure you get it in there.
Next is a consideration of a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Iowa Code Chapter 21.5J to discuss acquisition of property.
I
So
would
move.
so move, Your Honor.
Second.
Motion is second. Clerk will call the roll.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
We will go into closed session.
Steve, my Dodgers came through. Just gonna pass that along to you.
Was that over?
Yeah, 5-2.
Playing the Rockies.
Two runs
tomorrow
off the
night.
ninth, which is pretty normal and scary.